Good morning. This morning I'm going to spend some time on the behavior tree for the enemy AI. I was sitting and thinking about this, and I do really well when I plan this out, kind of organize my thoughts first. We don't have to do every permutation of AI. This is for an MVP playable demo, but coming up with maybe 2 or 3 behavior patterns that the game can choose just to add a little bit of variety. Makes a little bit of sense. So we're going to get into that this morning. So we're going to start with the high level behaviors that we covered earlier this week. I'm thinking of creating conditions for the behaviors to be selected. It's early. Coffee hasn't kicked in yet. And so that'll be the behavioral change triggers. And so we can set those up. I think we'll do health levels. And let's just do health levels for the MVP. do 3 tiers. And so those are the 3 preconditions that we'll use for this. We'll call it personality. And so the way the behavioral tree works is there's 3 types of nodes: selector nodes, sequence nodes, and action nodes, or behavior nodes. A behavior node is when it does something. And so you can build the actual actions into the update loops. A sequence node is, the way I have it designed, a series of actions that get executed. So if you're in that branch and you want to sequence 3 behaviors together, that's the sequence node. And so you fill the sequence node with action nodes as children in the sequence that you want them done. So it has a list of behavior nodes as a part of the sequence node, and you load up the action node in the sequence that you want it to do. You load up the sequence node with the action nodes that you want to do in their order. It's too early to be streaming. The selector node is the branching. And the selection node gets filled with the branches of either sequence or action nodes that you do A or B or C based on their preconditions. Excuse me. So let's pick a series of behavior nodes we want to do. So the way I see a boss being done is there's a movement and then there's an action. And so that'll be a selector node. Probably to 2 other selector nodes. And then in the move, based on movement person types, because we picked up a couple of movement types. how I want to do this. Do I need a selector node there? I don't think I have to. So maybe I do health level state. I'll show you what I'm doing here. Because when you have a selector node, it goes through the preconditions. And I might need to... Where's my scene selection? Oh, sources. Got it. Window capture. Why wouldn't it capture? Probably because it only lets me do one. All right. Man. Sometimes. Let's change this one. There we go. Get out of there. All right, selector node. You add the child. Runs for each child until one succeeds. Yeah. So it goes through and it runs all the children in order as long as their precondition is met. That's how you turn basically them on and off. On the sequence node, it goes through and it ignores the precondition check. It just says, it's like, do it. So you got to build up your behavior node sequence with that in mind, saying that there's no, we're not even paying attention to the precondition, we're just executing these. A root node is just a selector node. It's just the first one. And I created a special node just so I could force a root node in the tree. And the behavior node has a precondition that can be used. But outside of that, all right, it also has an interrupt saver. So you can interrupt an action. And it basically restarts the root node. We're not going to probably get into a lot of coding today. This is probably just all planning. All right, let's get back into the... I tend to draw these out on paper before I coat them, but that doesn't help with streaming too well. So I want the boss to essentially toggle, we said, in the initial tree design, and it can get more complicated later. So basically, what I'm looking to do is generate the graph. It's a graph network. It starts with a root node. It's tree structure, so it's one directional. It starts with a root node, and then either has selector nodes or behavior nodes or sequence nodes underneath it. And so the method that I'm going to be writing probably this weekend is how to build that graph to trigger it so it can clear out the graph and rebuild it as needed from a list of behaviors, and it can generate its own unique sequence of how it's doing. And so I guess a selector, it's just going to, I'm trying to think the generation rules is what I need. So let's take that approach. And what the health levels are going to do based on personality is when the boss hits these conditions, it'll trigger a regeneration of the tree. So it'll change its behavior. So let's just say I want to come up with this dummy sequence. Because this, being able to procedurally generate it autonomously is going to take a little bit more heavy lifting. So that might take a little while. I need to get a cup of coffee. Be right back. As the coffee flows, you'll witness me wake up. It's just one more feature we bring. All right. I forgot to turn my light on. How unprofessional. Okay. I'm gonna move the camera. That's not good. There we go. All right. Let's work on this. So we're going to hard code the first behavioral tree, and then probably at another time we'll think about how to procedurally generate that, which is just coming up with the generation rules. I love procedural generation. It's hard though. So the root node, the one thing that makes it different is it has the state. And so the behavior tree will carry its own state object, essentially. It's just a JavaScript object. And that state feeds the precondition checks. And so that's going to be key. And so for something like this, let's create state. Let's give it another color so it pops. Pow, a little purple. Can be, oh, last action. Ooh, that's a good idea. So it can fall back on what did I do last, and that may dictate what I do next. Hopefully my coffee slurping isn't too annoying. What other state can we have? We might build this out over time. So for right now, I'm just going to use last action. I would think I'm going to have to give that some more thought. So the root node, which is just a selector node, the phone says I have a viewer. Not sure if that's true or not. Might need to add playing a sound when a chat comes so I'm paying attention. Just had that random thought that I might miss a chat come through. So we'll just say we'll do a move to. And attack. Let's say action. And this can be a selector node. Let's do that. Let's say attack 1. Attack 2. And maybe other action. And the reason I say that is because if you come back up here, I have a list of movements, a list of attacks, and other behaviors. And so what I was going to do is have it randomly pick an attack pattern, 2 of them, and then maybe another behavior, which will probably be, no, it could be, I'll probably leave the limiting map out because I haven't figured out how I'm going to do that in the code yet. But I can do healing, summoning, or shielding, I guess. And maybe this is ranged. See what I'm doing here? You can do melee. And then other. I like that. And so the selection parameter is distance to, maybe distance to, no, Dinkus. Player distance. Now we'll have to make sure I put in an update to that. I don't see why I can't do that. So the way I'll do it is there will be some random number generation playing a part here, and say basically this percentage of the time attack this, and then under these conditions you pick your other. You basically trump and supersede the range versus melee. And do the other action. And so these are randomly picked in the behavioral tree generation. Okay, I'm starting to picture this in my head. What am I missing? I mean, that would do it, I think. Let's take a quick look at how I use this behavior tree on the minions. Come on. Come on, OBS. Oh, bugged TS. Alright, here's my root node for the bug. First time flag, player detected. So those are the only two state units that it uses. Then you add, it's being a selector, you add its child behavior nodes in. So it's basically picking between an initial state, a patrol state, and an attack state. The attack is if the player's been detected and it's not the first time through. And then, yeah, it's running an action. So not only am I going to have to create these behaviors for the behavior tree, but the specific, I might have to either create parallel actions or an action sequence. So I can run a single action, I can run a parallel actions, and I can run a sequence of actions. And then when they are done, that is I send out the action complete. I return the behavior status success. Otherwise, I return. Yeah, that's how this is going to work. I wrote this a few weeks ago, so it has since left my mind as far as how it actually works. The patrol finds a new spot. Does a move to action. And then when it gets there, it changes it from free so the free and busy is so that if while it's moving, if it reaches, it's just so that it bombs out of this update if it's busy. That's, I think. Another way to do this is the fact that a move to is done by Excalibur. I need to get back in the camera frame here. Since a move to is done by Excalibur, I don't have to keep updating it. I could be doing that move in the update loop itself, saying basically if I am moving, manage the position. But since Excalibur handles that kind of asynchronously, I just say I'm using an action complete event, which is the action system on the actors will do that for me. Apparently I'm doing another actor detection at the end too. I don't remember writing this. It works, so this is just what happens on first entry. Which is the same as the move to, just as a fixed position. That's a behavioral tree system. So yeah, the behavior tree basically controls the actions that are executed. So this behavior and AI system for not only the minions but for the boss will be a collection of the behavior tree driving a series of Excalibur actions that are happening. Let's switch back. I'm trying to think of what else needs to be covered. So this will do a move to in animation. In the real world, it'll have an animation state tied to it, but I'm not worrying about animations. We're just going to be moving squares and circles around. So let's talk about what this is going to mean. Let's put player distance greater than equal to 300. Just arbitrary value. Let's say occurs 20% of the time. Might add the random number generation into the state. Let's try that again. Excuse me. All right, so the flow, the sequence of events here is add a nude. Boss actor created. Personality selected. Move style selected. Attack 1 and 2 selected. And these could just be enums. What? What? There you go. Oh, other action selected, which might need a condition. Like, let's say if it's health, no. Nah, I'm just going to leave it like that. Never mind. Other action selected. Generate behavior tree. So this is the boss generator. Boss actor generator. So the boss actor generator is a component on the room. Let me go check that. I don't want to tell you wrong. That's not it. The room has the room control. I must have lost track of this. I didn't change that. It's drop system. Nope, scenes. In my head I wrote this down. Oh, here it is. Sorry. So the room controller is the state machine and like spawning generator for not only the boss, the events of the boss. So the room controller will tell the boss generator, do your thing. The boss generator is going to be a component on the room that will create the boss character with all its personalities and action sequences. Also, but the boss will have the method of saying, all right, clear out your behavior tree. These conditions have been met. And I think the room controller is going to connect to that. So the room controller will basically interface to the boss and say, hey, look, dude, you need to change your behavior tree. Does that make sense? So something in the room is going to have to monitor the boss. I guess why can't the boss monitor the boss? That makes more sense. So the boss is just going to self-monitor, and if it hits its conditions, it will regenerate its own behavior tree based off the conditions. Basically, I'm trying to come up with a list of things I'm going to be coding this weekend, essentially. And monitor the behavior tree state. Okay, cool. I get that. Okay. I'm going to have to take another break here, get some more coffee. I did lose my train of thought. Okay, I've been streaming for 51 minutes. Probably should wrap this up. All right. What I'm going to end this on is the generation of the behavior tree. I like this general structure, at least initially for MVP. That will create some boss behavior. It'll be incredibly predictable and vanilla, but it's something we can polish and iterate on and do testing on. And so the behavior will be tied to actions. All right, cool. All right, this makes sense to me. I think this is good for today. Might stream some more tomorrow, but I do have a stream scheduled Sunday morning. And so might start coding out. The way I do it is I build a project just to test the system. And so sometimes, well, not sometimes, almost always, there's a lot of things. Gosh. I'm jacking with my camera. There's a lot of things that basically have to be built out to support the testing of that system. And so I'll probably work on that tomorrow. So, but until then, thanks everyone.